I think the board, should, approach racial imbalance from a couple different perspectives. One, I'm not in support of a general policy of using the Board of Education for purposes of active social engineering. I'm in support, absolutely, of being sure that we have a diverse district, we create as many opportunities as possible for children to interact with all different types of kids from all different walks of life. It's important that they learn that because that's what the real world is like. I work in business, I travel all over the world, I have the good fortune to take my kids everywhere, and the purpose is to expose them to completely different environments because that's what they'll need to succeed in the 21st century. With that said, I don't have a fundamental view that the actions of the state should be deliberate in correcting racial balance that happens, or racial imbalances that they perceive may happen through natural housing patterns or other activities. I think we should look out for the interests of Greenwich. I think we have a wonderfully diverse school system. I think we're currently complying with the state's law, and I think it's very important that we protect the interests of what the parents here want, including people from all different backgrounds and groups within Greenwich.
Thank you very much. Ms. Applebaum?
I think over the last year, as the research has been done, looking at the question of racial balance, it's become very clear our community supports its neighborhood schools. And first and foremost, that is what we need to do. So we need to work with the state in a collegial, consensus-building relationship that protects our rights and choices as a community while building high achievement in all of our neighborhood schools. My style is not one to demand, it is to bring others to our way of thinking. The state will not force us with what to do, we need to just give them a plan. And that is what I support, a plan that includes expansion of New Lebanon schools so that there is more space involved, so that more students can attend. There is higher demand for IB, and we need to allow that to happen. We need to reevaluate the existing magnet theme programs to make sure that they're strong and desirable to multiple facets of the community, and that they offer different options for our students on top of our regular core curriculum. Last, we need to create more areas for choice and movement, but only with the extended time and thoughtful implementation of the community that would happen in. If it were to come to it and unique schools can be part of that definition, that's great. And if not, I do not support a lawsuit.
Okay, Mr. Baldunas.
I support solutions which honor the sanctity of the neighborhood school and which positively impact student achievement. I think we need to put those two pieces together in any consideration that we have. Specifically, I support the ongoing investigation into challenging the law. We've heard some things back from the Board of Education. We need to hear more. The current Connecticut law focuses only on race and ignores economic factors and student achievement. Except for cities with a history of intentional segregation, no studies of which I'm aware indicate a positive achievement effect from forced racial balancing. It's not effective and it's not efficient. However, given the time frame a legal challenge might entail and the subtleties of a court challenge, we must continue to focus on achievement across all of our schools. I support a plan for students, racially imbalanced schools, if we get to this point, to move to or opt into schools with capacity to accept them on a measured basis for a trial basis of 1 year so that we can work out any kinks in the process and also to provide transportation for that process.
Thank you. Mr. Bernstein.
A letter from the state on unique schools. Certainly things are still in flux. We have options on the table, everything ranging from challenging the state to doing nothing to submitting a plan and basically everything in between. The state is yet to reject a plan, and they also haven't rendered any final opinion. So the ball is still in our court. There's likely some middle ground here, and we just need to keep working to find the one that we're comfortable with. Now, I'm glad to see redistricting taken off the table, and I'm certainly a supporter of choice. I'm a supporter of the neighborhood schools, and I'm happy that facility utilization is a completely separate issue at this point. But whatever we do needs to be implemented in a fiscally responsible manner and phased in over time, rather than ripping the Band-Aid off. We need to minimize any disruption that this might cause. We can and should continue to advance achievement and improve our schools. Now, I was an early and vocal supporter for seeking community input, and I'm glad the board listened to the will of the people, and I think that says a lot that we could have such a civic discourse.
Thank you. Ms. Tam?
Yes, I know all parents are passionate about having the best education for their children. All parents are. But, you know, if you have racially imbalanced school, it does lower the achievement gap, which everyone is very concerned about. And the fact is that separate is not equal. It is not. And that is the point of Brown versus the Board of Education, Schiff versus O'Neill in Connecticut. It is not an equal situation. Racial imbalance, we've been cited since 2000 for racial imbalance. It's not a new issue. It's been ongoing, and unfortunately it hasn't been addressed in a really serious manner. Now with our new superintendent and our board, and our community, it's become a priority, which it should have been a number of years ago. I think we would have had an easier time if we had done it on a consistent basis. But children can't be separated like this. It's not working. We have the opportunity in Greenwich to become a community with racial balance that is a global community, that is a 21st century school system, a town that people look upon with great envy and admiration. I think we should try.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Erickson?
Thank you. I'm going to repeat the question. So what approach should the board take towards racial imbalance? Is that
Okay,
the question?
let's see. What approach do you think the board should take to racial imbalance?
You know, I think the approach that the board should take is exactly the course that the board has been taking over the course of the last year. Dr. McCursey came here in July of 2012. The previous month, this district had received a letter from the state saying we were racially imbalanced in 2 of our schools and pending imbalance in a few others. The process was the board charged the administration with coming up with some proposed solutions. More information was requested. Consultants were hired to do some very extensive surveys and to do some very thorough enrollment projections. I think all of that was very positive. There was a lot of community input. There were a lot of forums. One was held in Spanish at Ham Ave to hear from a population that we don't always hear from. I think that process, although at times maybe a little contentious and a little messy, as what happens in a public board, I think it worked. And I think the board is at a position now where it's taken some options off the table, preserved some other options perhaps, and is ready to make a decision perhaps on October 24th after it hears from some other community input. So, you know, as a potential board member, I will support whatever decision that the current standing board makes. I think that's appropriate. My position with the state would be there's always a conversation and perhaps a negotiation before you resort to litigation. I think that's just prudent practice. You know, my fear would be litigation would be just a very large distraction away from the business at hand, the core work of increasing achievement.
Thank you very much.